Hello, I am Leah, and I am one of the co-founders of Inclusion Festival. And I'm here today with Sam Huber, who is the creator of Heroes of Autism, Inclusion Tube, and Adulting While on the Spectrum. He's been interviewing many people from around the world. And today I am here to interview him. So I'm going to turn the tables on Sam. Hi, Sam.
Hey, how's it going?
Pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Just hard at work on my channel and spreading the word of Inclusion Fest and positive thoughts about autism.
We're very grateful to you for doing that. Why don't you start by telling me a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm an inspiring musician who's trying to get up the nerve to perform in front of people. But more importantly than that, I am a husband and father. I live in Bridgeport, PA. I'm trying to write my first book, and right now I'm trying to create a YouTube channel that focuses on all the gifts that autism gives individuals on the spectrum, off the spectrum, that create a new form of inclusion and understanding and room for growth, and help people really embrace life in a whole new way that have struggled with it for so long. So I'm interviewing people from all walks of life and learning so much about autism just by talking to other adults who have figured out some parts of life.
That's really
And
awesome. It sounds like you have your hand in a lot of different projects right now.
yeah,
You identify as having autism.
yes, I was diagnosed at age 14. Before that, I was ADHD, and also nonverbal learning disability. But my mom was never satisfied with that diagnosis, so at 14 she got me re-diagnosed. And then, for a while I went into the whole, oh, autism has robbed me of so many things. I'm never gonna, have a meaningful relationship. I'm never gonna have a girlfriend. And it turned out, see my parents pushing me. I was the only person to have a date at the prom, both junior and senior year of high school. I had a number of experiences dating, and I actually got a girl to marry me. And since then, just being with her has inspired me to show others that they can do it too. Uh, and I am starting to really see, especially after talking to Temple Granite yesterday, like just autism is like a more of a badge of honor than something that we should be ashamed of and something that we need to conquer. It's something that needs to be celebrated.
Absolutely. I definitely want to come back to your interview with Temple Grandin. I think that's really amazing. I
Mhm.
just wanted to ask you a little bit about autism and just how it has impacted you in your life. What are some of the characteristics of autism that you notice for yourself?
I guess the place to start was with what everyone knows is the sensory issues. For me, I have light sensitivity, so I need to wear sunglasses even on a cloudy day, um, or a hat that goes low over my eyes. So I have an issue with also with fluorescent lights too. So in the doctor's office would be a good place where a lot of fluorescent lights, or a school I have to wear glasses. The other huge thing I've noticed is learning social cues, like the unwritten rules, like and trying to like remember all of them, or like learning the big one though I think is reading people's body language. I'm still learning and uh, to do that, and I think the best thing could have done for myself was take psych courses. Chose psychology as a major just so I could learn to read people. But I'm still learning things about people every day. The other huge thing is my processing is quick. I have to do a lot to get my brain to start making connections. Like I have to take honey rose botanical tinctures. They've been a big help, like eating the right foods. I have to pack my bag full of essential oils and stim toys for myself, just so I can function in the day to day. So it takes a lot for me to take care of myself. I can't just throw on a nice shirt and go to work. I have to do a lot of prep just to interact with other people, and also have to constantly take breaks because having a normal conversation can be really tiring. Because I have to remember, look the person in the eye, you know, shake their hand firmly, make sure that they're being heard and you're not the only one talking. it's just a very social. So I think the biggest thing is socializing is can be very tiresome, but uh, through COVID-19 and all these interviews, I'm starting to enjoy socializing more. It's taught me really to appreciate socializing way more because I can't go out and do it the normal way, but I'm finding uh, ways to connect with people I've never met before, which has been hard for me in the past.
It sounds like you've done a really great job, like figuring out what strategies work best for you and implementing that to feel really successful and, be
Mhm.
the best that you can be, which is really awesome. I just wanted to ask, like, with regards to school, I was a special education teacher, and I worked in a public school and had an autism program. So there was a lot of, teaching of strategies that I utilized in my classroom. Like, one thing that I thought of was I would turn off the fluorescent lights. Is
Mhm.
that something that was ever done for you, or are there any other strategies that you specifically remember, like, being good takeaways for you from your school programming?
Um, no, like the thing, like they weren't. I went to school back in the '90s when schools were not so willing to cater to the sensory issues of autistic people that they would rather just like throw you in special ed. Well, I never went into a special ed classroom. Like the whole idea of shaping a school to fit that that wasn't, at least as far as I was aware, like that wasn't a thing. So I had a lot of like horrible migraine headaches, and I had to basically carry around like an aspirin bottle in my backpack. And like when the teachers weren't looking, I would put my sunglasses on, um, just to like try to cope with the stress of my sensory issues with light. Um,
That sounds like it must have been really challenging.
it was, but when I look back at it now, it made me incredibly resilient and made me rely on myself, which I think is a really important skill for not only anyone, but I think that for autistic people, like we're so used to someone like hovering over our shoulder, like a teacher's aide, personal aide, a teacher, like prompt us, use your headphones, use your glasses, use your sensory toys. Like I had never had an aide, so I had to really learn to rely on myself, which is a very important skill for a child to learn. Um, and then also just focusing on the work, as Temple put it yesterday, just show the work. And when I focused on my schoolwork and I got amazing grades, like it helped negate a lot of the sensory issues because my brain was focused on something else, like concentrating on what's right in front of me.
So, with regards to the lighting, do you think that that's something that would be important for people to know and recognize, that this is a challenge for certain people? Fluorescent lighting. I mean, fluorescent lighting is present in a lot of different settings.
I think it definitely is, and there are really simple ways to help people with that, like putting like a thin cloth over the light, like just dimming it just a little bit. The other part is just the huge strategy. I think is instead of looking to other people to help autistic people with that, we should be looking to the individuals to help themselves. I use essential oils a lot to help me stay grounded and focused rather than let my sensory overload overwhelm me. So like I'll take a frankincense for example, and it's a smell I know really well for the last 5 years, especially because my wife got me into essential oils, and I smell when I start feeling that overload, I'll smell the oil, and it helps bring me back to heart center, and helps me focus. It's a huge thing that I want people to understand that Temple talked about yesterday, especially is autistic people have a need to control the situation. Once they feel like they have some control, it's easier for them to adjust, even if there are sensory issues that are bothering them slightly or a lot. Um, and then the other huge thing is that smell is the hugest trigger of memory. So if my house constantly smells like frankincense, it brings me back to home, the place I feel safe. And then even in a place I don't feel safe, smell frankincense. Like it tricks my brain to thinking I'm home. So
That's
take it.
a really interesting way of putting it. Like I use essential oils and I love frankincense personally. And you know, I've always felt that it could be helpful for everybody, but that's
Mm,
a really nice way of describing it. That
mhm,
sense of home.
yeah.
So do you wear that? Like, will you wear it when you go out as well, or like
Yeah,
how else do
I'll
you
wear
utilize?
it. For a while I would wear it everywhere, but I noticed other people have sensitive smells, so I started using it as needed, not like drenching myself, because I wanted to be courteous. And there are other ways, like putting it on the bottom of my feet, so still get the medical benefits of the essential oils. But not everyone will smell it. Um, and yeah, I take my oils with me everywhere. My work bag is usually have 5 or 6 different oils for different purposes, that I need for emotional support. Um, and I would recommend that to anyone, to have a sensory bag, something that soothes them and comforts them throughout the day.
Do you utilize, like you said, it brings you back to your heart center? Do you utilize intention or, you know, like a word or some sort of mantra or phrase when you're applying them as well? Or is it more a feeling that you get from the essential oil?
It's more like the best way to describe it is I follow the smell downward, because I put it on my chest where and then the smell drifts up, and I just look down and I follow it down to heart. It's kind of like a physical reminder, because for a lot of people on the spectrum, like our minds tend to wander a lot. But oils help me, like, just it's such a strong smell. It's like, "Woo, what's that?" Um, and it's just a very quick way, because when I meditate, it can take 20 minutes to an hour to get down the heart center. But with oils, it's almost instantaneous, depending on
Awesome.
what oil you're using.
Um, so yeah, let's talk a little bit about meditation. When did you discover meditation for yourself?
I discovered meditation in college, because I took religion classes, because I wanted to understand why religion was so important to people. Like, um, contrary to popular belief about autistic people, I'm fascinated by people, and I wanted so I could relate and connect with them. And I know religion's a huge way, so I started taking classes to learn how to connect with people. But what ended up happening is I learned to start connecting with myself, which is hard for people on the spectrum, because we have trouble telling vibes. Like, who is that? For example, is that Leah's vibe or Sam's vibes? I couldn't tell without meditation and learning to know what my vibe feels like. And then if someone else enters my vibe field, I can tell, oh, that's not mine. That person's angry. I'm not angry. And it just taught me a lot about looking within rather than externally. And then especially meeting my wife Gisette, who's extremely spiritual, I've just learned a lot about looking within.
It sounds like you have a lot of awareness and feeling of other people around you. Like maybe you take on some of those feelings, or, and it seems like
Mm.
you've improved that. But has that always been something that you felt and experienced?
Um, I never Prior to meeting my wife, I never realized that's what I was doing. Like, I always have had like huge empathy. Like, my nickname in high school was like Dad, because I would take care of everyone, like make sure everyone got home safely. If someone needed to talk, I would pull them aside and talk to them. And maybe it's having a mother for a therapist that just was innately taught into me to look after people. And also, just it gave me a reason to connect with people. Um, but I would say I'm not always as aware as I appear to be right now. Like, I had to take a lot of oils just to be this connected and focused on you. If I don't have, especially if I don't have my coffee in the morning, I'm still a space cadet. Um, the biggest thing I have to do is acknowledge when I am in a space cadet, and what do I need to return to heart center, which would be putting in oils, having those 3 to 5 cups of coffee, or whatever it might, whatever my body needs. Um, and that's I think the biggest secret to meditation for me is recognizing when I need it.
That's great advice for everybody. I mean, you know,
Mm,
everybody's arsenal, or like, the tools that work for you as an individual
Mhm,
may look completely different, but being able to have that awareness of when you're out of balance or when you need more grounding, and what can help and support you in any moment, whether it's a glass of water or you said your coffee. I agree,
mhm,
that's really important, and it sounds like you have a lot of awareness about that.
mhm. Through a lot of trial and error. It wasn't like I woke up one day, folks. It's a long process, and anyone who's trying to figure out what tools work for them, like, you have to try a bunch of things before you know what actually works. It's another huge thing. Like, you can watch as many spiritual documentaries or interviews as you want about big spiritual leaders, but until you learn what actually works for you as an individual, that stuff's not going to work for you.
So tell me a little bit about some of your gifts.
I
Really
think.
good.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I just said what I interrupted, but I said, what are you really good at?
Um, I'm really good at attention to detail. Like Temple Granite. I'm a very much a visual thinker. Um, so like what that means for those who are watching and don't know, that means I think in images. So just imagine Google. So if I say something like miracle, that means that like a picture of Jesus coming up or Jesus healing somebody would is the image that would come up into my mind when I did Google search on miracle in my mind. Um, and it's a very powerful tool because it like helps me remember things, and it's how I learned to read is learning to visualize the book and the page and what the word looks like. But going back to what you were actually talking about, my gifts are writing, music composition. Uh, I think also like learning to like really understand people and like human behavior. That I understanding that everyone's different. That autism has really taught me that everyone is different, and that's okay. And that we all have our superpowers, and my ability is to help others like me see the beauty in who they are, see their humanity. Um, I'm not fixated on trying to be normal anymore. I'm focused on being Sam. I'm not fixated on being autistic. I'm fixated on learning on who Sam is and how Sam works. And and that's one of the things I'm still working on, but like learning to move beyond the labels. Um, and I think it's led to a work ethic that can't be matched by a lot of people.
It sounds like a really beautiful gift.
It
And thank you
is.
for sharing it.
Thank you.
Um, so you mentioned music. I just wanted to hear a little bit about what music means to you and how it's impacted your life.
I would say music means like everything to me. It's how I learned to really connect with people because the huge thing they teach people, especially on the spectrum, on how to connect is finding common interests. So I didn't have any friends until sophomore year of high school, and all of a sudden this thing went off. I saw another boy with a Metallica shirt on, and I'm like, I love Metallica, and he's like, me too. And we started talking about our favorite songs, and we started really connecting, and it led to meeting a lot of other music geeks. In college, I started trying to, write my own rock opera and stuff like that. And while I'm still in the beginning stages of learning to play an actual instrument, like I've always had this very good ear for music. Like when a singer is off, and then compositions. Like I have notebooks full of music. So when my actual musical talents catch up with my mind, I have like 50 albums worth of material to put out there. But it helps me make connections. And I especially love freeform music. That's why I love the jam scene so much and jam music because it teaches. I think the music really teaches me a lot about humanity. That, for example, the Grateful Dead never played a song the same way twice, and a human being never acts the same way twice.
Hmm.
Exactly. It like music has taught me a lot about what it means to be human because it's
Hmm.
if you're a real musician, it comes from here, your heart, and and you expand out and you're sharing and you're being vulnerable. that's the music that stays with us. That's the music that does not fade away. Like Vanilla Ice in the 80s, he's faded away because no, he was the first white rapper, but after that, that faded away. And we got Eminem. No one really remembers him, but Grateful Dead, 50 years later, people still are, crazy about them because they tapped into that special ether that can't really be described. And um, to basically sum it up, music makes is what makes me feel human.
Thank you for sharing that. That was really beautiful.
Thank you.
How about festivals? What was your first festival experience?
Um, Philadelphia Folk Festival, Apple Farm Festival, folk music, like small folk festivals were my first experience as a kid. My mom would take me to them. And it was the first time like I was able to talk to people without like thinking, oh, they know I'm autistic or um they just and then they're gonna judge me for it. Like they just like were allowing me to dance and stim without like he's just especially at jam shows like stimming and jam dancing, trance dancing is very similar if anyone's ever been to a jam show. And then I got in and and then I got into heavier, angrier music as a lot of teens do. And then like, oh, here's something they feel what I feel, and I was able to feel connected to something outside of myself, which was huge, especially for a child who didn't have friends. And then I started going to concert after concert of all different genres and so many different experiences. I mean, the biggest ones were like Fish and different incarnations of the Grateful Dead that have appeared over the last 2 years. The biggest experience was Fish was playing upstate New York at Spock, and I traveled 3 to 5 buses by myself. It was like the first, well, not the first experience, but the first time like I was really responsible for myself. No, that was the first experience that mom and dad, no teachers, nobody was there but me, and I had to put up my tent and I stayed at this beautiful campsite for 3 days. Met a lot of beautiful people, but I had to rely on myself and keep track of my money and make sure I ate and bathed and stay hydrated. But and then like, but my favorite festival experience is Inclusion Fest because, um, it was about family, which is always so important to me because family is where I've always felt safe, and also just meeting so many like-minded people about autism, life, spiritual healing, plants, and the music. The heart of what the Grateful Dead started is an Inclusion Fest and any festival like that. And I could go on and on about hours about how important going to these events are because it gave me it's music's always given me a reason to be social.
Did you find that your experience at Inclusion Festival, so Inclusion Festival is a sensory friendly festival. Did you
Mm.
find that it was easier for you to participate in the festival experience given that it was sensory friendly? Was that helpful for you?
I think it was definitely helpful because I could take a break from the music when like because the smell of stale beer and cigarettes can
Mm.
it's not a very pleasant smell there's been one or two occasions where I stepped outside and then the doorman wouldn't let me back into the show because he's like, you didn't get a stamp, and I'm like, no one told me I had to get a stamp, but sometimes I would just need that step away from all the lights, and like I said, I just don't like the smell of cigarettes and stale beer. Um, so Inclusion Fest definitely helps with that, and also I'm allowed to actually connect with the musicians because like when you go to like a Fish show, like I'm not gonna go walk up to Trey Anastasio and be like, "Hey man, that was a great set." Like, there's no way I'm gonna get to him. Though I did meet Mike Gordon a couple times. Um, that was cool, but that was by chance. I ran into him in the parking lot on a couple shows. But what I love about Inclusion Fest is that I can like really get to know the musicians, the artists, the hula dancers, the yoga teachers, and just it feels like a very safe environment. Like no one's there to get trashed, which unfortunately some of the dark side of a lot of other festivals. Um, I really appreciate feeling safe at a festival.
Awesome. Um, let's talk a little bit about your projects that you're working on right now. So,
Mhm.
Heroes of Autism is one of the channels that you've started. What inspired you to get started with that?
Um, I think the biggest thing that got started was like COVID-19 got started. Like I was sitting around my house just being like, fuck, what am I going to do with myself? I'm going to go, crazy because I'm used to, going out in nature. I can't leave my house. I can't really go see my friends. I can't really interact with the world. Another huge part is I wanted to um, showcase other people on the spectrum that like I'm not this magical unicorn that's figured it out because people come up to me all the time like, how did you get a wife? How do you have a kid? Like people have literally said to me, I didn't know your men parts worked because I thought people didn't have a sex drive, and I'm like, we do. We want this. A lot of us want the same things as a normal man. But I wanted to also showcase not only men on the spectrum but women on the spectrum because there's not a lot of research done on women on the spectrum um, for various reasons. One, women are better at masking it, or they just for whatever reason like they've just fallen through the cracks, and I don't think that's fair. I've met some really amazing women, not just Temple Granite, through doing this show that are living the day to day and proving that we are not disabled. We are actually able. We just have to find our own way. Like each one of them has their own version of what I call the sensory bag, things that help them function and be amazing artists, teachers, therapists, you name it. Like we were able to do it, and I'm hoping to showcase that to a lot of um, young people on the spectrum who think that they're going to amount to nothing because that's what they've been told due to their disability. It's not a disability; it's how you process the world, and I want to show you how to use your processing powers for good. And then, like Amy, the other co-founder of Inclusion Fest, told me a story about a teenage girl who saw one of my videos and now believes she can go to college and actually thrive there. And I'm like, that's the heart of Heroes of Autism. Is I want autistic people to believe that they can do anything. Stop focusing on what you can't do. Focus on your strengths, and show. And like Temple said yesterday, if anyone saw that video, show the work. And that's something I'm still working on, showing the work. And YouTube's a nice free way for me to show the world what I can do and what people like me can do. And that's the heart of Heroes of Autism.
Thank you so much for that work. It's really purposeful, and it seems like it's going to really help and impact a lot of people in a positive way.
Hmm.
Have you had any favorite interviews or maybe some exciting aha moments that you've taken away from any of these interviews?
Oh, so many. Uh, let's see. I mean, there's so many of them. I'm spacing on people a lot of their names right now, but I've loved each one of them. And the huge aha moment really is um, that like I'll start with I guess the most obvious one that everyone's probably talking about if anyone's seen my channel's Temple. She really just like got to the point and straight to the point about like cut the bullshit. And I think that's one of the huge things going forward with my channel. I'm gonna do is help adults I not only interview but other interviewers like let's cut the bullshit of we're disabled. Let's focus on our strengths, and that I think the big aha moment is okay. How do we show our strength? What we're passionate about. There's a girl named Rachel who's Miss Tampa was a really great interview that she loves Frozen and she sings and does all these amazing things. She's already running her own autism organizations and like and that it showcases like that autistic people have empathy. And I'm always asked how do we have empathy when we don't show it in our words. I'm like, oh my god, it's through our actions that the big people that changed the world, John Lennon, Tesla, Einstein, Tim Burton, the individuals I've interviewed, how do they change? It's their compassion, it's their empathy to make a life a bit better through their art, through their charity work, through their work in general. Like that's how we show empathy. Like just because we don't show empathy in the traditional sense doesn't mean we don't have it. It's just it looks different. As Temple would say, we're different but not less. And I think these interviews have definitely proven that to me. I've already known that, but it confirms me that I'm not the only autistic adult that's figured it out. And I still have a lot of other things to figure out. But I'm that life's a process, and that's the other huge thing I've got across in these interviews, that they went from not being able to speak. I could only speak a one syllable word, just two syllable words when I was in the first and second grade. But now look at me, I'm very articulate. But that was dedication, hard work, and that these videos have confirmed to me like life's a process, no matter you're autistic or not. And no one snaps their fingers and is as brilliant as Temple is, or as brilliant as you are, Leah, or I am. Like that we actually are human, whether society tells us we are or not. And it's really just it's brought me out. Like the most important thing I could do for people like me is bring out our humanity, not our autism. The humanity, like our humanity, is the most important gift I can give the world.
Thank you. That's really awesome that you've connected with so many people, and it seems like it's really helping and supporting you on your own process too.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you a question. So when I went to school to be a special education teacher, and one of the things that we learned in school was that, and this was 2008-ish. So it's been a while. One of the things that we learned was to use people first language. So the person with autism, when describing somebody who has autism. And I just wanted to ask your opinion on that. I know that, there's been different thoughts around that.
I think let's start off with the easiest solution. Ask the person how they want to be referred to, if that's possible. And if it's not possible, ask the parent, how do you want us to refer to your child? Let's just start simply. And I think the other part is, how about you start with the person's name? Not, oh, you're autistic. You wouldn't say, oh, you're a black person or a Mexican person. Why is it with mental disorders we're starting off with, oh, that's an autistic person or a schizophrenic person? Let's start off with, oh, that's Sam. Like, who is Sam? Like Sam. Like, let's wait until like the third or fourth date, for example, to talk about my autism, or the third or fourth hangout, or whatever social situation you can come up with in your head to talk about my autism. And I think the biggest thing, because that teaches autistic people, especially autistic children, to lead with their autism when that's not who they are. They are Jennifer, they're Bob, Karen, Frank, Jill. Let's lead with their names. Um, and then, like I said, down the road, let's talk about their autism and getting to know how that affects them. Because I think just starting with the label, at least it's something I've just learned recently with Temple, that I spent a lot of my life leading with, oh, like everything I am is related to my autism. Like, no, it's related to who Sam is. And so I'm going forward, I'm going to try to lead with, oh, I'm Sam, I'm a musician, I'm a father, a husband, I'm funny and quirky, and show all my awesome traits. I'm not going to lead with, hi, I'm Sam, I'm autistic. Or, Sam, why'd you do that? Because I'm autistic. No, I did that because you pissed me off. Or I did that because I love you. And learning to live my life, making decisions out of fear and love. And I'm going to always try to choose love rather than, oh, I'm afraid that someone's not going to like me because I'm autistic, or I'm going to be stigmatized against. If I always choose that fear, I'm never going to make new friends. I'm never going to be able to connect with my child. I'm never going to be able to connect with my wife if I'm always afraid that my so-called limitations are going to keep me from that. If I play to my strength, I can find ways and simple solutions on how to better communicate with my wife, with my child, with my friends, with total strangers. And I think the biggest lesson I've learned is everyone has their own story. And once you learn to respect their story, you can connect with anyone, no matter what they have done. You don't have to like them, but you can understand them and respect their humanity. And the other huge part I've learned is turning the golden rule of treat others the way you want to be treated. How about treat yourself as you want to be treated, instead of always looking to other people? Um, and so I don't want to be treated as someone with a label. My label is my name, not autism.
That's really great advice, and I'm really thankful to hear it from you. So I hope that, hearing you speak about it in that way is helpful for other people in
Mm-hmm.
having a good understanding about that.
Hmm.
Um, Kind of along the same lines, but autism awareness has been, a movement, I guess, of sorts. Like, April is now Autism Awareness Month, and there's, the puzzle piece that has been like associated with autism. I
Hmm.
wanted to just ask your opinion on, this whole idea of celebrating Autism Awareness Month and making people aware of autism and using the puzzle piece as a symbol of autism.
Um, it's funny. For a while, I never gave it much thought, but in talking to other autistic adults, I think it's the totally wrong symbol because the huge thing that I think people misunderstand is okay, a puzzle fits perfectly together, but we're fucking human beings. Human beings do not fit perfectly together, and I think a lot of special ed teachers, at least the way the system is not you guys, but the system has the idea that we have to fit these individuals to be normal and fit them in perfectly. But I've discovered as an adult that humans are unpredictable. There's no script that out there, even if it's written by Shakespeare or whoever, that can prepare you for what a human being may or may not do. You have to just take that leap of faith and learn to connect with someone. So if I had to pick a better symbol, one of my interviewees gave a great example is that we're like water. That water has no shape. You can pour it into a glass, but as soon as you turn that glass over, water gives up its shape and becomes something else entirely. Um, and I think that's the same thing with autistic people and normal people, that we are constantly growing, we're constantly moving just like water and moving forward. The idea that you're going to make us a puzzle piece is saying we are fixated in the same grooves for our whole lives, and I think the symbol should change to, I don't know what, water, a flower, a tree, something that is always growing, always getting bigger, always learning and growing, not something that's fixed.
Hmm,
Um, should autism be celebrated? Yes. I don't. I think we should move away from just awareness, but to celebration.
hmm.
And I think that there should be a week, a month to celebrate every kind of different person as we learn about them. There should be a schizophrenic month. There should be a bipolar. There should be a neurotypical month. Even though there's no such thing as being neurotypical, because everyone's different. It should be called Difference Month. They celebrate everyone's differences rather than just autism, because we're special in our own way, but everyone's special. Why don't we just call it Difference Month, where we celebrate the fact that everyone's different rather than just a select few?
I love that idea. We should
Mhm.
take that and run with
Definitely.
it. So is there anything else that you can think of that might be important for somebody who maybe hasn't had that much experience with people with autism or other special needs? So, as a adult with autism, or for you specifically, Sam, and other people that you have interviewed, is there anything specific that might be helpful for the general public to know and understand?
I think the best way to understand it is not to look at autism as a disorder, but rather look at it as a language. The best way to describe it, if you're like learning Spanish, the best way to learn Spanish is to go down to Mexico or any other Spanish first speaking country and spend time there, because it forces you um, to learn that language. So as a special ed teacher who's new or experienced, but still like, I want to get these people a bit more, spend time just immersing yourself in the autistic culture. What is the autistic culture? That would be that we have our own body language, that we talk through more through our hands than our lips. You can learn a lot more about an autistic person through their hand movements than what they're saying. For example, where I hold my hands on my body shows how anxious I am. If I'm touching my face a lot, picking at it, I'm very anxious. If my hands are down by my waist or waving about like they are, you can't see it quite on the camera, but they are moving about, that means I'm processing information. And for anyone who knows me, that'd be wait till his hands stop waving and then ask the question again if I didn't hear you, because that means I'm processing the information. It's kind of like we see like spider webs in our hands, and like, all right, this connects here, that connects here, and once we made that connection, okay, the answer is four, or no, I don't want hot dogs for dinner, mother, or whatever they're trying to process or get across. And I think language is a beautiful thing, and I think it would help a lot of teachers and other people help see our humanity, and not just autism, but other special needs. Like, how does a schizophrenic talk? How does a bipolar like? That's why I love the neurodiverse movement, because it's this idea of celebrating differences, and this is just another culture to learn. That if we can teach our children Spanish, why can't we teach them autistic hand gestures and body language? Like, why can't body language be a class in our elementary schools
Hmm.
and the different ones? And I would say the biggest thing is observe them. Don't like rush in unless someone's in immediate danger. But spend your time really watching us. Don't look for what's wrong. Look for what's right. What is this child's strengths? What are they focused on? If they're really fixated on a toy car, why are they? Oh, maybe they have an engineer mind. So nurture that strength, or teach math. Get like 20 toy cars, and teach them to count by lining up 20 toy cars. Get them, turn on their minds by something they're into, rather than talking about Greek philosophy, which they may not care two things about. But if you could turn Greek philosophy into NASCAR in some way, if you're clever, and I think that's more fun as a teacher, that you're not teaching the same curriculum the exact same way for 30 years. No, it's different every day and for every individual. And I think teaching is way more an adventure for a special need teacher than teaching 30 neurotypical children. And so have fun with it.
Thank you. That's really great advice.
You're welcome.
Um, I wanted to ask you one last question, and I think it's a question that you've been asking other people, and that is, what does the word inclusion mean to you?
Inclusion means to me is the celebration of differences. And that's the conclusion I've been coming to during this interview, and I think keep running with that. It's being fascinated by what makes a person them. You know, don't not fixating on what you don't like about that person. What do you like? If you could only tolerate them for 15 minutes, then make that the best 15 minutes it can be, and then move on with your day. But if you really like someone, you can spend all day with them, then do that. And that's the great thing about a festival like Inclusion Fest, is I can move throughout the day. Like, this social situation is too stressful, I'm gonna move on to the next one, but then I'll circle back when the crowd's a bit thinner, and enjoy it, and knowing my limits, and celebrating the fact that I had that awareness and that other individuals had the awareness, and I'm learning through inclusion how to accept other people's limitations, and I'm learning what makes them human. For me, it's music. For them, it could be art. For you, it could be yoga. It could like, what makes you you. And I think inclusion's the best way to do that, to learn how difference is make us all so special.
And then to take away from your interview with Temple Grandin, one thing that she really pushed a lot was just how important shared interests are. So
Yeah,
finding what it is that, lights you up, what you feel passionate about, and then surrounding yourself with other people who have those shared interests can be really helpful too.
exactly. Start with shared interests, then start out with shared experiences. I think that's another huge thing in autism, that especially these teachers are taught to focus on getting them to share their interests, but they don't talk about sharing experiences with each other. And Inclusion Fest is a perfect example. Let's go to a festival together, guys. Frank, you're in charge of the water. You're in charge of the food. And giving each other roles, and go as you're as the Avengers, an A team, whatever you want to call yourselves. um, find ways to unite with people. And a festival is the perfect, like Inclusion is the perfect place to go.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for all of, just sharing your perspective on all of this and sharing so much about yourself and for all the work that you're doing and helping
Mhm.
people to understand, what makes every individual unique and special and just really grateful for everything that you're doing.
Thank you for having me on Inclusion Tube. It's nice. It's been very interesting to be on the other side of the coin.
Yeah, we're really happy to have you on the team and we're looking forward to, moving forward with new and exciting things with Inclusion Tube in the near future.
All right, stay tuned, folks, and subscribe below so you can keep learning more about Inclusion Festival.
All right, thanks so much, Sam.
All right, thank you, Leah.